Well, hello and welcome. It's Adair Palmer here. Welcome to mytimetv.live. This program is a community program. It's all based around TV from me for TV for you. It's a weekly TV show that's recently started, hosted by moi, Adair Palmer, and what the whole purpose of this is to bring education and information for around things that may or are of interest to you from other people who are in the community doing great things and learning and sharing, helping each other to have better, happier, more healthy lives. And today I am really pleased to announce that we've got the lovely Liz Palmer with us. She's actually not related to me, but we do share the same surname. And she is coming all the way from starts with a P. Let me think. She's coming all the way from the US. She will share where she is at the moment. She's sat up past her bedtime to be present with us today, which is really, really awesome. Thank you, Liz. And she is sharing with us today information that she has around brain health. Now, brain health is something that it's not like you wake up in the morning and you go, oh, I wonder how healthy my brain is. And I think with some things that you are, it's almost like a frog being dropped into a pot of boiling water, where you might feel like you're on top of things and you are at the top of your game, but then over time, as perhaps poor habits might creep in or different things happen and your brain health suffers, and it actually you don't actually realize how much it's suffering until you get to a point where there is some really serious stuff happening. Now, Liz is happy, I think, to share her story with us and some information about the research that she's been doing over the last several years about brain health. And I would invite you, if you're watching, there is a link below, just below the broadcast here. Click on the link. You are welcome to join us. If you have questions or comments that you would like to make around brain health, as Liz comes in and shares her wisdom with us, I'll be monitoring the people coming in, and if there are people that want to make any comment, or I'll also, if you're not broadcast ready, if you haven't got your lippy on, or if you're in the States and you're in your pajamas and don't want to come on live onto the broadcast, feel free to pop your any questions or comments below into the comment section down here into the thread, and I will be monitoring that. Go, clicked the wrong button. There we go. I actually meant to, and just this is what the button I meant to click was to hide that, not to hide me. There we go. So using the BeLive TV platform, this is brilliant. It's one of the best platforms that I know to do things like 2-3 person interview on Facebook, using Facebook Live broadcasting. This platform is amazing. You can share photos, you can share your screen, you can do a whole heap of stuff. So BeLive TV, little plug for you guys, because you're awesome, and you enable us, the ordinary person, to do things that we would, and reach people that we would have never been able to reach before. And it's just such an exciting time to be alive now, with all the opportunities that we have to share, connect, and just to help each other's. My big mission is to help create a better world, and this sits really perfectly with my mission. And I'm sure people like Liz actually do help me accomplish that too. So without any further ado, I'm going to bring Liz on, and you'll be hearing 3, 2, 1 ping, and Liz will be in the broadcast. Welcome, Liz. How are you?
Oh, very, very well. Thank you, Adair. And I'm from Portland, Oregon. That's where I am right now, on the west coast of the United States.
So I'll say it to myself 3 times. Portland, Portland, Portland.
That's right.
I actually say it Portland, Portland. Oh, I need some brain health tips to remember where you're from, but that won't be, you won't be there for long, will you? So
No,
a couple of
only like 9 more days, and then I'll be back, heading back to Australia.
Okay, so I just want to a couple of things before we get into the presentation. I know we've been talking off camera a little bit about what the weather's like there. I mean, it's like it's going crazy in the US at the moment, and you've got fires. You're about to be evacuated. Is that, or how's that working? What's happening over there?
Well, down in the south, we had that huge flood. 1 trillion gallons of water fell on Houston, and they didn't build an ark. They just flooded. That was really terrible last week. And up here in the Northwest, we're on fire. We've had such a hot summer that my favorite place of all time that I hike is on fire. And currently I'm kind of on an evacuation alert where I am right now. Any moment the winds could change. And then of course a big hurricane that's coming on the East Coast is in about 2 or 3 days supposed to hit Florida. Of course, they don't know which way that's going. That's the worst hurricane they've ever seen in the 185-mile-an-hour winds. So we are definitely experiencing some turbulent times here, and looking forward to getting back to Australian soil where it's nice and quiet.
Well, it might be quiet for now, but I know we've had our fair share of fires and floods as well. But so Liz, if you want to share a little bit about what brings you back to Australia, because I think we first met online when you were in the US and you were headed back to Australia, and then we sort of connected IRL, like in real life, and now you're offshore again. So just if you don't mind, just share a little bit about how that came about.
So I've had a very interesting and varied life. I raised 7 children on my own as a single mom. And I always joke that I have one tattoo. One was enough, no more. But it's a crab, which is the name of my four birth children. And I always said that when I was old enough and my children were all grown, that I was going to be out of there. So I love world travel, and I happened to go to Australia on a vacation last year, and I loved it so much. It felt like home to me. And I ended up meeting someone special, and then I ended up in Adelaide, and I just love the culture, the city, everything about it. So I'm hoping that I will be a permanent resident and just come back and forth to the United States, visiting my adult children and having them come visit me. So I kind of like this bi-coastal life. And with the internet, I don't skip a beat. People wouldn't even know that I'm not living in the U.S. because I can call home, and I have my webinars every week, and it's really easy to support people with. And of course, this is my first time on the live TV, and I think I might want to be using this platform because it's a great way to stay in communication. So I've been here since June, and I'm heading back in 2 weeks to come back to Adelaide.
So that's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. And we're pleased to have you in Adelaide because that's where I hail from, for those people who are here but haven't met me before. So it was actually a real pleasure to meet you online and then watch you bounce all around the globe and then actually meet you in person. And I have to say, I was a bit sad when you left because we'd sort of connected and I've been to one presentation that Liz did just before she left on brain health, and I was so impressed by the information and the way you brought it across and relating it back to your own story, which I think is one of the really important things, especially when we do things here, is to have that authenticity and to be able to say, hey, this is my experience and this is what I found. And you've woven in the research so beautifully. So that's a lovely segue, I think, into perhaps a bit of how you, if you don't mind sharing, how you came to be on this path with the research into the brain health and that type of thing. So.
Oh, okay. Well, I'll go way back to when I was only 19 years old. I had a very severe car accident where I rolled my car without a seatbelt. All of us mothers want to make sure our kids wear a seatbelt, and back then it wasn't that popular to wear your seatbelt. Anyway, I had a right cerebellar, which is the very base of my neck here. This had a bad injury. And for 35 years, I did not know that my brain was not functioning properly. And that's the one thing about brain health. You don't go to the medical doctor and they say, you know, how's your brain looking? What are your symptoms? Anything like that. So I was suffering from, I was very, very overweight. I was dizzy all the time. I couldn't concentrate. And actually one of the scariest days was the day that I went to drive home on a normal road that I've been driving on for many, many years in Portland, and I couldn't find my way home. And it was very scary to me. And it just happened by coincidence that I worked as a nutritionist. I worked for a professional company selling nutritional products to physicians, and we had sponsored a brain program in Hawaii. And they needed some volunteer examined. Now, of course, we don't cut it open and take a look inside. There's some functional exam questions that were asked. And I volunteered, and they said, oh, whoa, your brain is not good. And so that enabled me to open my eyes to what had happened. And I found a doctor who's one of my favorite doctors here in Portland, Dr. Zielinski. He's a functional neurologist, which means he works on the brain more from a functional aspect. He doesn't do an MRI. He doesn't look at it from medical, but he really functionally evaluates your brain. And after I got my brain fixed by doing some exercises, gagging, gargling, I did spinning, very unusual things that you wouldn't really connect with fixing the brain. I was able to lose 60 pounds, which is, you know, in America, people know what that is, and just started on this pathway of feeling better. And I was so enthusiastic. I would stop strangers in the grocery store and say, I think you've got a brain problem. I can see the way you're walking, or, you know, your pupils are not dilated properly. And so I became what I call myself as a neuro nerd. So I became fascinated. And that is why I'm so passionate about it, because all those 35 years I suffered without knowing what was wrong with me. And now I really want to bring to the forefront why your brain is so important. Of course, it's very, very important, but also how to recognize what's not functioning in your brain. Because most of us think, well, if I can't remember, that's why my brain is failing. Well, that's just one tiny little part of that. So that's kind of how I came to be a neuro nerd. And I actually named my website fixthebrain.com because I want everybody to feel like they have a fixed brain.
That's awesome. That's awesome. I've just had these visions of you gargling and spinning at the same time.
I tried to go dancing. Dancing is very good for your brain, very good for aging, but I could not spin. Every time I spun, I'd fall over, and I said, how do people dance? I thought everybody experienced that extreme dizziness, but now, of course, I know. I'm still a little sensitive because my brain will probably never fully recover, so I'm not much of a spinning dancer, but I do like to dance.
I think do you think it's because I know when I was learning Zumba, it's the focus that you need to be able to coordinate everything, because I think I have maybe a limiting belief that I'm spatially challenged, but I do have I've stuck at it for long enough that I can pick up a few moves occasionally. So, but I think is that the healing process, is that part of getting the brain aligned with what your coordination's doing? Is that
Well, we have neurons in our brain. So we have as many neurons in our brain as we have stars in the galaxies. So we have a lot of neurons, and those neurons function, help us remember everything, how to move, walk, talk, everything. If you meet somebody that's had a stroke where they've had a damage to the neurons, they have to learn how to re-speak. So these neurons are interactive with one another, and they connect. And when you are challenging your brain, such as learning new moves, you are really challenging those neurons to activate and be focused. So that's why dancing is so good for the aging brain, because it is keeping those neurons stimulated and focus. So yes, it's hard to learn, but you know, once you learn, then those neurons have like a carved pathway, and it's easy. But it takes a long time to learn for some of us, and it can be a very rehabilitative for people with brain injury as well.
And I think, I'm just thinking of my own experience, I've been learning Zumba now for about 6 years, and I think it took about 4 years before I mastered the basic steps. And I used to be so frustrated because I'd say I'm uncoordinated, but I loved it. I love the movement. And then Zumba, they say you don't have mistakes in Zumba, you just have independent solos. So I did plenty of those, and but mastering them, and then I know there was a point where it switched over from going, I want to play the songs, I want them to play the songs that I know that I'm familiar with, because I can dance those steps, and I would get annoyed when they would introduce new songs. And now I go, give me some new stuff, I'm ready for a challenge. So I think that's where you know that those neurons are, the pathways that can't take some longer.
Those pathways. That's what they say. So getting those neurons to that level. So when I come back, I'd love to take a Zumba class. I'll sit in the very, very, very way back.
I'm a front row diva.
Oh, awesome! Well, I'll be the back row diva until I get it together. But I do want to do a class, actually. So when I get there,
definitely, I'll hold you for that. So what I'd like to know is, you've had some information, you've done heaps of research. Do you want to share some of that with us? Because I know that when I went to the presentation with you, we talked about a really important topic, and that is Alzheimer's. And the stats that you came up with that I saw at that presentation were quite staggering, and they were actually quite scary as well. So I thought you might want to, if you share with us some of the things that you found during your research.
Okay, you bet. No problem. So Alzheimer's, of course, is all know about as just a bad memory, but there's so many more things. But some of the statistics that are happening in Australia right now, of course, America is very similar. In America, Alzheimer's or dementia is the 6th leading cause of death in the United States. And in Australia, it is number 2. Heart disease is number 1, and that is really a lifestyle disease. And dementia is number 2. Stroke is number 3. Diabetes is number 4, and it just keeps going up. And then heart failure and kidney disease. So that's kind of how it sits. So everybody should be very concerned about Alzheimer's, because it is a leading cause of death. In the United States, they're estimating that right now 15 million and up to 50 million people by the year 2030 will have Alzheimer's. So they say right now there's about 1 million people. And then depression and anxiety is also, they said that 45% of Australians have depression and anxiety. That's another brain disorder. And for those people that have diabetes puts you at a triple risk of dementia. So what are why is it going so crazy like this, and what is happening to our culture? So are some of the common medicines that many of us take for managing our health, are those part of the problem? So these are just some of the statistics, and I got this from the Australian information on Alzheimer's as well as the United States, but these are some of the things that can contribute to Alzheimer's is anti-anxiety medicine. So benzodiazepines like Valium and those things that are Xanax, which is very, very popular, that can increase the risk of Alzheimer's. Antidepressants have definitely been shown in the senior population to rapidly degenerate the brain. So here we are taking something for our brain to help us manage, and we're getting worse. Benadryl, allergy season, to antihistamine, to lower our allergens. That has a 54% higher risk of dementia when used on a regular basis. And proton pump inhibitors, very common, heartburn medication. I don't know what they're called in Australia so much. Prilosec, Nexium here in the United States. The statistics show a 44% increase of dementia taking those medications. So I've done presentations before where someone will come up to me and they'll say, I'm on 3 of those medications that you suggested. So is this part of our problem of why we're having such an increase? The other big increase is our food. We have sugar on the brain. If you look up the word diabesity, not diabetics or diabetes, but diabesity, that is type 3 diabetes. So that is what they call Alzheimer's on the brain, diabetes. So you get an accumulation of the amyloid plaques, which are the buildup of plaque in the brain that cause those neurons to kind of be blocked. That's a simple way to put it. And Alzheimer's Association, it shows that if you drink 1 diet soda with aspartame, you have almost a 3 times increase risk, 3 times risk of Alzheimer's disease, and a 3 times risk of stroke as well. And what about our food? Back 100 years ago when we would garden and farm, when we ate good quality meats, grass-fed beef, butter, a lot of good fats. We used all the parts of the animals, not just the chicken breast. We used the whole chicken, and we didn't have fried foods, convenient foods, packaged foods. So when I like to go to the grocery store, to the market, and look and see what people put in their grocery carts, and I'm always astounded. There was a gentleman who did an experiment, and he changed his diet, and I call it the SAD diet, which is the standard American diet, but you can just put that word Australia right in there. So the standard Australian diet. So it'd be something like wake up in the morning and have some cereal and juice for breakfast. That shoots your blood sugar up right away. For lunchtime, we maybe have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich on white bread that ups our blood sugar right away. And then for a snack, maybe a candy bar and a soda. I'm sure you know people that do this. And then for dinner, maybe you have some pasta, some spaghetti, some macaroni and cheese. Pretty standard diet for kids. Fries. I call it the new cigarette because every time you eat French fries, you go to Macca's and you get your French fries. That overheated oil can cause so much oxidation into the cells. It's like smoking a cigarette. So this diet, it's not bad, go out for a party for a weekend once a month and have this kind of diet, but a diet on a regular basis is so detrimental to our brain, and our bodies were not meant to eat these types of foods. So that is part of the problem. So you're looking, what? Go ahead.
Yeah, I just have a question here from Linda. She's asking, is this the concept that David Perlmutter talks about, diabesity? I've actually not heard that term before.
He is one of my favorite. I actually gathered a lot of information from Dr. Perlmutter. He wrote The Grain Brain, and he wrote a lot of books on how grains are so damaging to the brain, talking about the gut, our guts and our brain. You've heard of that gut instinct. Really, we have all had it. We've had that instinct that feels in our gut, but it affects the brain. So when you look at the brain, if you take apart the brain and there's no body here, you're going to see there's a coating around the brain that goes all the way down the spine and then right into the gut. So what's happening in our gut is happening in our brain. It's called the gut-brain barrier that's supposed to protect us. So Dr. Perlmutter's information, I highly recommend. I have him on Audible. I've listened to those books over and over again. I was actually having some very intense dental work done a couple of weeks ago. That's one of the reasons why I came here. And I was listening to his brain book while I was getting dental work. So it went very, so, when you look at the common, what's happening in Australia. So the diseases that we have, like diabetes is very common. I bet everybody listening here knows somebody with diabetes. Learning disabilities. In America, it's atrocious. I don't know about Australia. They're right behind America. But so many people have digestive problems. Autoimmune problems are going on the rise. Skin conditions, heart disease, kidney. These are all things that are affected by our brain and by what I call the mitochondria, which is very important. This is the engine inside the cell. Every single cell has hundreds of mitochondria, and it's like what drives the energy of our body. And our brain, our eyes, and our heart have the most mitochondria of anything.
Amazing. So we've had some comments here that Linda has, she said, the sad diet is so true. And it is. It was, when you think about it, but people don't know any better because that's the way we're conditioned to think. And I know my husband, for one, he went on a Wild Fit diet with Archimedes from he's associated with Mind Valley, and he was surprised because he said he always thought that if you needed a pick-me-up in the afternoon, you had a Snickers bar. That was what his solid belief was. And it was, you know, he always thought that I ate like a weirdo. But
well, you know, Adair, that really will pick you up. You know, if you eat a Snickers bar, what happens is that everything that you eat has to be broken down to glucose, because glucose is what runs the brain. There are several things that our brain needs. You know, we need oxygen. Without oxygen, not very long for this life. So you have to breathe deeply, get exercise, oxygenate the brain. As we grow older, it's a little harder. So you want to make sure that you're getting a lot of oxygen flow as you get older by, you know, stimulation. Without stimulation, if we just sat around like big lumps in a chair and only watch TV, we are degenerating right where you are. Learn a language, play a game, engage, learn Zumba. So keep that brain engaged. We need water. We need our brain is very, very squishy. It's kind of like tofu, bloop, bloop, bloop. And our brain is very filled with the water. So you need to drink good, clean water on a regular basis. A thirst is not the best way to determine how much water we need. You should be drinking, you know, 8 glasses of water and keeping yourself, oh, there you go. And water is kind of one of my passions because here in America, we've got a new application. It's not in Australia yet, but you can just put in ewg.org/tap water. So for those of you that are in America, you can do that. You could put your zip code, it'll pop up and tell you all the toxins that are in your water. America, very, very toxic. So you want to drink good, clean water and not diet soda, you know, and not coffee. I do recommend coffee, but not as your water. So, and then we also need fat. So our brain is about 60% by volume of fat. And by fat, I mean good fat, not peanut butter, not hydrogenated fat and Crisco and what's in French fries or chippies. What is in your avocados, your coconut oil, your olive oil, your good quality fats. Your brain needs those in order to function properly. The fad of a low-fat diet has been so destructive to our brains over the years. And, you know, the ADD and ADHD, so many of us are so distracted now. We have a hard time focusing. They say the average attention span of a goldfish is 7 seconds. And our attention spans aren't even meeting that right now. So we are more jumpy than a goldfish. Eating and drinking and how we're taking care of our brain. So that's kind of what our brain needs.
That's amazing. I'm just copying the link from the fixthebrain.com. We're sort of running that down to the wire here. So, I'm not quite sure.
All right, well, on the fixthebrain.com, if you scroll down, I'm the web developer on that, so it's not the best, but there you can scroll down and fill out a little assessment form, and it's going to give you some questions to answer. And it'll give you some indication of how your brain is doing. You know, are you losing your balance? Are you not sleeping well?
And we're back. So we were just bumped off the broadcast. I'm not sure if it was the internet or if it was my computer. I know that Liz was coming in and out a little bit with the audio there for a while. I'm just going to pop her back into the show and we'll wind it up because we're at time. But here we go. So let you just finish your conversation, Liz. You were doing a recap about how people could find you. I've put the information, fixthebrain.com, into a link just below. We've just got some final for comments here. We've got my friend Andrew is saying excellent, well done to both of you. Thank you, Andrew. Can't wait to see you here doing a presentation as well. Andrew is one of our code breakers, and thank you for your support and being here. Neil, another code breaker, was just going to ask about the water. Water is your friend, and like you said, it is the most important thing, I think, because the water is, like you said, our brains need it, our bodies need it. It's absolutely critical. So, and then someone is commenting, another code breaker is commenting, I think that might be Paula. Thanks for the great interview. And then we've got Karen. Thank you for joining us, saying great information. So thank you, Liz. It's been absolutely awesome. Did you have any final words that you wanted to say before?
Just 2 or 3 minutes. So I kind of, first of all, I'm going to try to do another couple brain classes in Australia, in Adelaide, and even other places. If people like, I love to get up in front of the room and give you statistics, scare the pants off you, and then tell you what you can do about it. But you know, some of the things that you can do are balancing your blood sugar, making sure that your blood sugar is balanced. Eat healthy fats, which we talked about. Exercise daily. You want to supplement wisely. I do work for a company that is in Australia, and we're coming out with some fantastic specific brain products that will be very soon. So if you want to contact me, you can go to the Fix the Brain, put your information in there. And of course, you want to get good sleep. So there are steps that we can do, and be cognitive of your brain. And every time you open your mouth, you are either getting health or degenerating health. So make sure that you are making the right decisions for yourself. But Adair, I love talking about this, obviously. I could talk about it for hours. maybe we'll do another one sometime, and I'll look forward to doing another live event with you.
Absolutely, Liz. It's been a pleasure, and I don't think we can ever hear enough about this. And I think there's so many people that need to hear this, that will value the information, especially the little tips that you've given us. It seems so simple when you say just eat well, sleep well, drink water, exercise. It's some foundation stuff, and there's stuff that we can do right now, right this minute, to help ourselves. So I really appreciate you taking the time, and even though you're in the midst of being possibly evacuated at a second.
I hope not.
You're sitting there cool, calm and collected, and still giving us your expertise and wisdom, and I really, really do appreciate that. And thank you so much, Liz. I appreciate you, and thanks for your time.
All right, thank you for inviting me. All right, I hope to see you again. All right.
Can't wait to see you when you get back.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. And that was Liz Palmer talking about brain health and things that you can do to maximize the health of your brain, being cognitively aware of what's happening. Just some small, simple steps that you can take to ensure that you don't end up where, what'd you say, the second largest leading cause of death was Alzheimer's. So, and I imagine that would be one of the most awful diseases to have, diabetes, all that type of thing, totally avoidable. Let's take what Liz has said on board, and definitely look at improving our lives through improving our health and our thoughts and how we do things. I did actually, and the comment's gone, but I did notice there was a comment by Linda Elmsley who said something about big business directing us in the way we eat, the way we think, the way we approach our food. Big business, big pharma. There's a whole heap around that type of those topics, and I actually have got a great interest in them. I've watched, I don't know if you've seen Forks Over Knives and some other programs that teach us about how the industries form and how we are the unwitting byproduct of industries that is actually making us obese. That's, so there's things that are happening that make us, it's not exactly our fault. So if we're overweight and people say, look, point to them and say, oh, they're fat, they've got to exercise more or eat less. There's other things, other factors at play. And I've just, when Linda popped up that night, that comment, I thought, well, actually, it's a really, really good topic to have some discussion about, and I think it would be quite controversial to get people informed and to get people educated, because we hold on to our beliefs about the way, like drinking milk. I learned some stuff about drinking milk from my friend Peter, who has done a heap of study on this. And when he says it's actually, there's some stuff there, I won't go into any of the stats because I don't know fully, but what he said to me was, to a presentation, was that it's, we don't need to drink milk because we get more calcium from eating greens than what we do from milk. But we have had it stuck into our heads since we were born that you drink milk for strong bones, and it is the dairy industry that's promoting those types of things. So we come to a point where we go, what's the truth? So I think one of the things I would like to do is bring somebody onto the show at some point in the not too distant future who's able to debunk some of those things that we believe and we've held on to so dearly about what we believe about what we eat and that type of thing. So I might get a little bit hairy, I think, but I think that I'm up for it, and I bring you a range of information and education and opinions that you will be able to make your own informed choices about whether you are going to take some information to improve your life, or whether you will just keep doing what you're doing. And if what you're doing is fine and it's working for you, then then keep doing it. But if it's not working for you, seek out other information. Karen's saying, yes, I agree. The nutrition triangle was made by the dairy and meat industry. So there's we can have some healthy debate about this. I think some fun times coming up on this show, and I can see Liz down there in the lobby. She's going, yeah, I can see. We'll get in there and we'll pull it to bits and we'll learn and we'll help each other become healthy. I do have another program that I've got to jump on in about 20 minutes. So I'm hosting another one for Be Live in 5 and for the platform that has brought you this program, Be Live TV. And so I'll close it here. Look forward to seeing you next Wednesday at 2 p.m. Australian Central Standard Time. Thank you once again, Liz. It's been a pleasure. And we will talk again soon. Bye for now.